So my friend, we both go to the same university, was telling me a story about a guy who confessed his love to her via a sort of fake Instagram account. He sent her a really long paragraph describing his love to her and refused to give her his identity for a very long time, but he eventually did after she promised him not to tell anyone. She just told me the story without revealing who he really was. Turns out, though, that this was the same guy who used to harass her 5 years ago by constantly calling her on the phone. She would block his number and he would come up with a new one every single day for like 2 months until he finally just gave up. The thing is, I was talking to another friend, different uni, when she also told me that there was a guy who confessed his love to her via a fake Instagram account. She sent me screenshots of the messages and you guessed it, it was the same account, and he sent her the exact same paragraphs. I was shocked, and I immediately told my friend number one the story and asked her to reveal his identity. When she did, I was even more shocked because I went to the same high school with this guy, and I can tell you that this guy is the definition of creepy. He used to harass all his girl classmates, including me, by sending them text messages and calling them from different phone numbers every time. The weird thing was that he just sort of knew everyone's, and I'm not even exaggerating, literally everyone's phone numbers. You can ask him for any random person's number, and he would give it to you right away. My classmate once told me, though, that she was staying at a friend's place and he, as usual, started calling her non-stop in the middle of the night. She was ignoring him until she sent him a message telling him to stop calling her because, well, her phone was about to die and she'd forgotten to bring her charger. But then, 5 minutes later, he sent her a message telling her to look at the front of her friend's front door. And when she did, she found a phone charger on the doorstep. This is only one of the many countless really creepy stories that my friends have told me about this guy, and I don't know what he's capable of, but he definitely is really creeping us out. So for context, I'm a 5'3", 24-year-old female and working as a programmer for an IT company in the Philippines. Now, the area where my office is in comprises of 3 buildings. Building A, where my office is, Building B, and Building C. And to get to the other building, it would take you like around 10 minutes to get there, which is important for this story. So, this happened to me about a year ago around the end of February, until about March. I just got out of a bad breakup at that time, and I really intended to just focus on myself and not meet anyone yet. I just got out of work, and it's around 7 p.m. on Friday night, and I went to my usual waiting spot, which has benches and is located at the back of our building near the entrance of the underground parking, for our company shuttle, and Omar, shuttle dispatcher, is there. Now, I've known Omar for 2 years and is someone that I would consider now as a friend, and we would often just chat about our lives and whatnot, even the breakup with my ex then, and just sort of joke around a bit. He's a 40-plus-year-old guy, and he gives out this big fatherly vibe, so he's really someone that I trust. And that night, he was there, and with someone new that I didn't recognize. Our conversation went like this. "Hey, how's it going? A good thing you're here, actually. I would like you to meet someone since he told me he really wants to meet you for a long time now." And then this guy stood up and shook my hand. I greeted him just to be polite, and this new guy, his name was Ray, I think. He's average looking and a little shorter to my height, 5'1", but he instantly just gave a sort of off vibe as soon as I shook his hand. I honestly thought that would be the end of it, but he proceeded to talk to me for a few minutes while I waited for my shuttle to arrive. Omar had purposefully left me and this Ray guy so that we could talk and get to know each other. I'm actually quite puzzled at this point though, because, well, one, I have no clue who this guy is and why he would be so eager to meet me, and two, I clearly told Omar before that I'm not into meeting anyone just yet. But for the sake of being polite and nice, I talked to Ray, but we never reached any sort of personal questions, exchanging numbers or social media accounts, or even telling him my full name. I just told him my nickname, and I left it just at that when I finally got on the shuttle. Fast forward to a week and a Friday again. I got off work at the same time, and surprise, surprise, Ray is there again with Omar and a security guard. They were chatting, but as soon as I came by, Ray instantly greeted me, and at this point, I'm a little creeped out, I'll admit, as I expected our encounter would only be a one-time thing. I just said hi and just sort of brushed him off and sat on the benches to wait for my shuttle again. And of course, as this guy doesn't seem to know the definition of personal space, he sits beside me and tries to talk to me again, but this time he's asking for my cell phone number. I sort of told him off and clearly said that I'm not giving out my number to strangers and just giving him one-word answers just to give an impression that I definitely wasn't interested at all. He would ask things like, why wouldn't you give your number? I just want to be friends. I could see in his face that he was getting frustrated every time that I told him that I wasn't going to give it to him. This all happened too while Omar and the security guard were looking at us from afar, and this went on until I got onto the shuttle again. As soon as I got home, I just sort of mindlessly scrolled through my timeline, and I saw a notification that I have a new friend request, and you've probably guessed it, it's Ray. He even messaged me with a please accept my friend request. I just deleted his request, but now I'm pretty shocked since I didn't tell him my Facebook account, so how did he manage to find me in the first place? The following day, though, was the last straw when I decided to get off at an earlier time so that I could avoid him, but to my surprise, he was there again, waiting for me, along with Omar and the security guard again. Ray immediately ran up to me to say hi, but I brushed him off and dreaded the fact that I was going to have to wait with this creep again when I saw my shuttle bus wasn't there yet. He immediately asked me too if I had accepted his Facebook request, and I decided to play dumb and said that I haven't been active on Facebook and I haven't seen any requests. He got disappointed and he fiddled with his phone for a bit and then revealed his phone to show my Facebook profile and asked me if this was me. I said yes, and this time I was completely ignoring him at this point and playing with my phone and told him that I wasn't going to accept his request because I don't know him. And then Ray grabbed my phone out of my hands angrily and said that he was going to add himself using my Facebook account if I won't. I muttered a "what the heck?" and grabbed my phone from him, and with perfect timing I got on the shuttle in a hurry and told the driver to go. At this point, I could confirm that this guy could be stalking me and now knows my daily schedule and social media accounts. I reported this incident to my manager and told her how this was already happening for some time now. She was surprised that I didn't report it earlier, but I blamed it on my lack of assertiveness and fear that I must just be overreacting to his advances. We reported the incident to the office security and told them what had happened, and unfortunately they couldn't do anything at first as, one, I need actual evidence about my allegations against him, and two, I only knew Ray by his first name and they would need more information than that. I didn't bother to ask him where he was from or if he even worked in our office building, which is dumb of me, I know, and I should have asked in the first place. My manager, though, then decided that I should be at least accompanied by some of my office mates to confirm the situation, and the guys volunteered to accompany me every time that I got off work. And thankfully, they accompanied me for a couple of days, and no matter what time I got out, Ray was always there to harass me. I sort of felt bad for my office mates as they had to deal with this BS as well. But the first instance when he saw that I was with my office mates, I could see the sort of visible anger in his eyes, and he would try to butt in our conversations even if we were ignoring him. At one point, when I'm talking with my office mates, he let out a sort of exasperated sigh and said, "Ugh, can I talk to you for a second, please?" I was like, "What do you want?" "I just want to talk to you. If you don't, I'll leave then." "Okay." And then I just went back to talking to my office mates. He butted in once more and asked that I should introduce him to my office mates. When I didn't, he proceeded to introduce himself, which irked the heck out of my office mates and I as well, as his behavior doesn't seem normal at all. But after that incident, my office mates and I told my manager what happened and how dangerous this guy could be. she decided that we should escalate it to HR and have them deal with it immediately. And thankfully, HR responded and took the situation seriously and began to do an investigation on who Ray might be. Same day, they sent an email that, after searching through the records, it turns out that Ray wasn't actually an employee of our office, and they might need to talk to the building security to find out more about this guy. HR also requested our office security to escort me and observe the situation. I honestly felt relieved, as now I'll finally be safe for the time being while they search who Ray might be. And he still showed up, even if I got out late or earlier than usual, but he never went near me when he saw that I was accompanied by security, but he would just sort of keep a distance and stare at me, smile creepily, and linger outside my shuttle until it left. But then, HR contacted me for a meeting with them, and with my manager too, about some news on Ray, and I was shocked by the information that they had found out. So firstly, Ray was definitely not an employee of our building or office, but in fact a temp in the security office in Building C. I then thought, okay, so this creep is really putting an effort in for someone who is clearly not interested, and if he's a temp, meaning there's a chance that I won't be able to see him after this, that's great. But then, what HR said chilled me to the bone. Apparently, he was a temp assigned to work on security cameras, meaning that he had access to all of the building's cameras. And it has been his way to spy on me, and the reason why he was able to be there at the exact time that I got out every single time. HR has already spoken to his supervisor and gave a warning to Ray, and of course, Ray denied the allegations, even if I had witnesses against him. The supervisor wanted to apologize to me in person, but I decided not to, as I just wanted this to be over with. But after that meeting, I never saw Ray again, and I thought that he must have been kicked out after HR issued a warning against him or something. As for Omar, I never saw him as well, and I felt bad, but he was sort of also a part of the people who enabled Ray, and didn't do anything when I was clearly getting harassed. I did receive a bit of backlash from the security guards in the building for a while as well, hearing them say that I was overreacting and I should have accepted his advances, which to me was sort of disgusting, as I had heard the same thing being said by female building staff as well. But nothing really strange happened for a few days at least. But then, the security guard that was with Omar at the time when Ray was harassing me added me on Facebook, but I didn't make much of it, and I just deleted the request again. I'm currently still working in the same office in the building as of today, and I've been totally shaken up by the incident, so I decided to just keep my distance from people so that I could avoid things like this ever happening again. I don't know if Ray will be back at some point. I don't know if Omar will come back. I really have no idea where they are or what's happened to them, but this whole situation's got me shaken up for sure. This story is from when I was a teenager and I just started high school. So my friends and I lived in a town that, at the time, had a lot of farmland. Near my house, a mall had recently been made, so my friends and I tried to ride our bikes to go shopping one day. We missed our turn and instead wound up on a long road with a small downhill slope that ran through some farmland. Having never been to the mall before and never having been down this road, we assumed it would lead us to the mall. But instead, this road twisted and turned through just thicker and thicker woodland after the farmland ended. At the end of this road, there was an abandoned old house that was visibly falling apart too. My friends and I simply turned around and found our way back to the mall that day, but we ended up going back time and time again because the road was long and just enough of a slope to make your bike go faster than you could pedal. And one day, we ended up daring each other to go into the house. Up until this point, we had never gone into that house. My friends dared me to go into the house because I was pretty confident that it would be safe if I was careful, so I did. It was a pretty empty house at first glance too, with some old mouldy furniture. There were holes in a lot of the floor space too. Anyway, one Halloween's Eve, we went back to the house to play hide and seek in the house. We brought a few of our other friends and it was sure to be a pretty fun time. So we thought. Now, at first, everything went alright. We played a few rounds and some of the girls were sneaking off with their boyfriends off into the woods to make out, but we just kept playing. Eventually I went into the building to hide again and noticed that, well, there was a ladder up to the attic. There was a hole that I could climb through that led to a more secluded spot of the attic where I couldn't be seen as easily. At the time, I thought to myself, this is the perfect hiding spot, and didn't think twice about just climbing right up there. I brought a flashlight, so I turned it on, but kept the light low for the floor not to give away my position outside. I started looking around when I noticed a flash. It was the reflection from a pair of Nike shoes. And it was at this point that I realized that someone was already up there. I raised the light to see who else was already up there, but it wasn't one of my friends. He was dressed up in torn-up clothing, and I only held the light over him for about a second before just noping the hell straight out of that attic. It took me about 3 seconds to squeeze back through the hole, but the guy just stood still, not even acknowledging that I'd ever been near him. He just kind of stood there and stared straight ahead. I told my friends, and we all decided to stop playing and go outside to look at the attic. Part of it was exposed by a hole in the side of the roof, and there was a window that the guy was standing near. But nobody could see him through the hole, so we went to look at the window. And we saw a guy with a crazed look in his eyes, and at that point, we just bolted. One of us told their parents, and they called the police. The police didn't find the person, but what they did find makes me glad that I got out as soon as I did. The police found 7 fingers, with 3 being the right index finger, and a decapitated human head mounted on the windowsill of the attic. We weren't looking at the guy that I had seen. We were looking at a corpse through the window. Apparently, that house was being used by a gang, and it was so out of the way and unimportant that nobody ever went to it aside from us. And what's more, they had found a machete on a tarp where I had seen the guy, and several traps inside the house meant to catch intruders if they tried to sneak into the attic through the ladder.